My name is Jake.
My name is Kara. Welcome to the channel.
Hey everybody, I got a special guest here today for us. I got my wife, Kara, who's going to be joining us in today's video.
Hi everyone, I'm so excited to be here.
She's the wife that I always talk about. I promise I'm not lying. I actually do have a wife.
The wife.
The wife. I usually refer to her as the wife. In today's video, we're going to have her join and we're going to talk about 2020, some of the things that we learned, some of the highlights, lowlights. And then towards the middle of the video here, we're going to go in and we're going to take a look at Kara's portfolio. She's going to give everybody an introduction into what she's invested in. And then towards the end of the video, we're going to talk about some of our goals for 2021. For those of you that have been following the channel, my wife and I, we're both here in our mid-30s. We live down here in Austin, Texas, and our goal is to be financially independent and retire early. So what that means is we're accumulating assets and investing our money into appreciating assets like, in the stock market. We also invest in real estate. We're looking to retire or be at least financially independent. Whether we continue to work or do other things, that's still to be determined. But our goal is that we're financially independent and really are not bound geographically to one place, one job, but really we have freedom to go and do what we choose. And our goal is to achieve that here in our early 40s. With my wife being from Germany, it's a little bit different, right? So we shared, I think last year, about the differences in perception and mindset of German nationals when it comes to investing compared to Americans?
Yeah, I don't want to talk for every German, obviously, but the way I was raised, the stock market was always a mystery that you better stay away from. My parents also painted kind of a negative picture in terms of like things you invest in, for example, food or water or just essential things, and they kind of doomed the entire stock market based on that, like you shouldn't put money on other people's food and all that. So I grew up with that, and also in my circle of friends, the stock market was never really a thing. I don't know why. I know in my case why that was. I don't know about my friends, but yeah, it was never like I didn't pay attention to the stock market until I met you.
Even growing up here in the United States, we don't really have the financial literacy as we could, right? In our education system here, we don't learn about financial literacy. We don't learn about investing. We don't learn about the stock market, right? If you go to college and you have an economics degree, you learn about accounting and finance 101, but not really about the general basics of investing your money and really how compound interest can create generational wealth. I'm really excited that we can talk about some of our financial goals. Being from Germany and myself being from the United States, it's kind of got me feeling like this.
Guten Tag, das YouTube. Ich bin ein Bavarian.
Und ich bin eine Pretzel.
And this is Sheldon Cooper Presents Fun
Mit
Flags.
So when I first moved to Germany, I thought that every German would wear lederhosen and walk around eating pretzels and bratwurst.
This is so wrong. I'm from northern Germany and I cannot identify with even that video.
But so you don't eat pretzels?
I do, but I also like fish.
You like fish. So you're up in the northern part of Germany.
Yeah, excuse me, exactly. I'm from northern Germany, just I think 60 miles north of Hamburg or something. Kiel, for those of you who are from Germany, might know it.
So the majority of the time that I was in Germany, I spent in southern Germany, in Bavaria. All right, so 2020 brought a lot of opportunity. It brought also challenges, obviously. So, with the pandemic and everything, luckily I transitioned to a new job in 2020, right at the beginning of the pandemic, towards April. And it was really a scary time because the stock market was going down. I wish I had more money so I could have invested more. I was trying to invest every penny that I had while still staying conservative, having an emergency fund, all of that stuff. But I think, I'm just kind of curious for you, what were some of your highlights from 2020?
Yeah, highlights, that's pretty easy. I mean, the obvious thing is that I was able to maintain my job. None of us got sick. We weren't in a situation where we were negatively impacted by the pandemic at all. And I think we can feel very thankful and blessed for that. So that was definitely a highlight. I know we talked about that in the last video. We're gonna have a little baby soon. So that's definitely a highlight for me. yeah, and just the entire journey that we went on in 2020, like also for me personally, like my investing journey, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit later, but that was definitely a highlight for me.
I always have to laugh. So, you know how the baby boomers that came back from the war and then then they had the babies, the baby boomers. I wonder if this is going to be called like a Rona baby.
Probably.
Is that a thing? A Rona baby? A Corona baby?
It will be.
I think it's totally going to be a thing. Yeah. But we were planning on having a baby before anyways, but I think we can still call it a Rona baby. I think that'll be funny.
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know how much he will like that, down the road, but I'm still going to call him a Rona baby.
Yes.
All right, cool. So 2020, the pandemic was obviously a low light. I think we stayed inside the majority of the year. Didn't get a lot of sunlight, so we're pretty pale, to say the least. But, financially, we did well. We didn't have our commute. I think the thing that really the big highlight for me for 2020 is we really defined our goals. And going into 2020, it really kind of felt like a dream. Like we had kind of this vision of, we want to retire early, but what does that look like? And 2020 was the year where we defined that. And I heard, I watched another video about this where there was this other couple that reached financial independence. And something that they said was they stopped dreaming and then they started creating goals. Because when you dream, a dream is just a dream. But when you set a goal can become a reality.
Yeah, what I want to say to that is I want to double down on that a little bit in terms of it's not that we set a goal. I think we had the goal before in 2019, even when you started the channel. I think you already started about being financially independent in like the next 10 years at that point. For me, it was more defining the journey, to be honest, because we already had that goal. Maybe it was a dream at that point, I don't know. But for me personally, at least, it became more of a reality in 2020 than it was in 2019. In 2019, it was still like, oh yeah, that would be so cool. And let's just save a bunch of money and then see where we are in 10 years. But in 2020, for me, it kind of crystallized how exactly we're going to do it. We have a whole bunch of charts that we look at every single month and see that goal come true, which is the journey. So for me, it was defining the journey.
Defining the journey. That's a really good way of putting it. And I think really what it comes down to is creating that $2 million portfolio. That's what we're looking to do. We're trying to generate a $2 million portfolio so that we can live 100% off our portfolio. And there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. We also invest into real estate, but the real estate is growing tax-free right now. And the reason why, we ended up in 2020 with 3 homes. We have 2 rental properties. We just moved into here in December into our 3rd home. So we're growing, we're kind of bank hacking, I guess, where we're using the bank's money to accumulate assets in real estate. It's what's called bank hacking. It's not really house hacking because we're not really like, renting out a room or anything. We're bank hacking because we're leveraging the bank's money to accumulate wealth in real estate. So that's really what we've been doing here in 2020. You mentioned charts and tracking our progress. This has been a huge thing for both of us, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah, absolutely.
Like I think every single time towards the, every single month towards the beginning of the month, you always ask me, hey, have you upgraded the charts yet? And
have you upgraded the charts yet?
And what she means by that is tracking our monthly progress with our dividend cash flow. And so we have different portfolios that I share here on the channel. The cash flow portfolio is the main portfolio that I have through M1 Finance, right? That's what I share in every single video, right? And if you look from January to December in 2020, it started off very slow. It wasn't until around June where things really started picking up. You see that snowball effect where it's compounding, and this is from organic growth where the companies are organically increasing their dividends, on their own, but also with me adding additional capital every single month, every single week in some cases. And so this is the main cash flow portfolio from the progress from 2020. If we go down and we can look at the real estate portfolio that I shared just here a couple of weeks ago, this is a smaller portfolio, but it is still growing, right? We hit over $100 in monthly cash flow from the real estate portfolio. So that is growing. Now, looking at the Vanguard portfolio, I talk about this sometimes. I really started more strategically investing into the Vanguard portfolio. I have this to diversify in different brokerages. I think having all of your money just in one brokerage is unwise. It's just really more so an opinion, but it's like when you diversify in different asset classes. I also see it being valid to invest in different brokerages or with different brokerages. So I also have the Vanguard account here. The Vanguard account I'll talk about more in the future, but it's really a matter of getting more of a consistent monthly cash flow. So it's not just June, September, and December, but also building out the October and the November months. And I'll talk more about that in a future video. And next we have
my portfolio. Yeah, it's small, but I'm proud of that. I think we need to explain that this is purely funded by my personal money. Like, we have obviously budgeted both of our incomes that goes into different streams, and a certain portion of my monthly income is just for my personal expenses, when I want to get a coffee or something like that. And part of that I funnel into my personal M1 finance, and this is what we're looking at right now. So it's small, but I'm very, very proud of it.
I think you can see the growth of it, right? You look at January where you had 21 cents, and now here in December you had almost $25.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't invest anything, I think that a lot of people think about that. Well, I only have a few dollars to invest. Yeah, but if you didn't start, right, you would have nothing, right? Exactly. So it all comes down to starting. And next year, I'm excited to see how this is going to just explode here in the coming years. And yours is a little bit more focused on growth. So more towards the end, in years to come, you're going to see that exponential growth, where my portfolios are more centered around current income. And it'll be interesting to see that. But you'll share that here in a second. All of our portfolios together here, we started out slow the first part of the year, but towards June, right? June, September, and December, it's so exciting. Here in December, we broke the $1,000 mark for monthly cash flow. Really, really excited about that. The goal for me here next year is I want to try to get a little bit more consistent cash flow in October, November, July, August through my Vanguard portfolio. And it's being a little bit more targeted with specific companies that pay out in October and November, or those off months, I guess you could say. But that's been the progress of our dividend growth portfolios here in 2020. And I think something that's really exciting is, as a couple, when you look at this, you're going in the same direction, right? I think that's what makes it so exciting.
Yeah, we're both equally excited about that, and I don't know, almost every other night, or if not every night, I'm on my couch doing my thing, and then we regroup later, and you're like, oh, by the way, I did numbers, and then we I don't know, start discussions for the next hour or two about new ideas that we have, or new, I don't know, you call it bank hacks, or just, I don't know, talking about our progress in general, and sometimes adjusting the timeline. So if we do this, then we could be able to retire in like 7.5 years instead of 8 or 9 or whatever. And we both get equally excited about that. And yeah, that's been really fun.
And you know what's so interesting though, is you mentioned before we met, this had never been, a priority for you. And I think about all the people out there that are in a relationship, whether you're in the early stages of your relationship or you've been married for 5 or 10 years, having that conversation with your partner, I think what started the conversation was asking you, when are you happiest, right? And you're happiest when we're spending time together, when we're, doing X, Y, and Z. And never once did it come up when we were, working our 9-to-5 job, right? Yeah. And then having that conversation around, okay, well, if we tweaked a few things in our lives, we could reach earlier retirement, so that we could do more of the things that we enjoy sooner in life instead of waiting. And I think that helped get you excited about saving versus spending, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking back on that conversation, it was yeah, I'm the happiest when no one tells me where I have to be. It's like I love my job, and I have coworkers watching, so I love my job. But it's just the need, like when the need falls away, that you have to do that and you have to perform, and you can't lose your job. And then maybe there's a job on the horizon that you would be very passionate about, but you just can't do it because it would mean a pay cut. And then that's just the pressure taking off of that. I think that's a big thing for me that makes me really happy. It's not that I want to stop working immediately unless I want to, but it's more like choosing what I want to do. Like maybe I want to work on a farm, or maybe I worked for GameStop in the past, so maybe I want to do that again. And obviously that doesn't pay as much. So it's more about the freedom to choose, I think, for me personally.
So I learned something new, everybody. My wife wants to work on a farm. So that's new information. I'm imagining her on a farm right now. Okay.
It'll be fun.
Interesting. No, I think for me, like working, I think when you're productive and working, I think that's where you get a lot of fulfillment in life, when you're producing and not just consuming. And for me, it's always been about the freedom and the flexibility, right? Right now, before the pandemic, I had to go into the office Monday through Friday. You have maybe 2 weeks of vacation. With being having more freedom or flexibility, it's like, okay, well, if I want to spend a month in Fiji or Hawaii, I can do it, right? Or if I wanted to travel or do whatever, or do a stay vacation and just watch Netflix all week, like it's the fact that I can choose what I want to do with my time. So that's what's so important for me.
And for me. Now let's take a deep dive into my personal portfolio. I'm very excited about this because ever since I set it up, I'm kind of making fun of Jake because a lot of times it does better than his, but I think I have to say it does that because it's a different portfolio. I think it's more growth oriented than his, so it kind of makes sense. But yeah, I'm very excited to talk a little bit about it. So first let's talk about the general setup. So it was established in August 2019, that's a year and a half ago. I've paid $6,000 into it. It's now valued at $7,000, which is exciting. When we scroll down, I have 3 pies set up. We have the Dividend Growth ETF, we have the Dividend Growth stocks, and then my personal favorites. We're going to dive into those in a little bit. Okay, so you can see my upcoming trades right here. The next one is scheduled for tomorrow morning. I have it set up in a way that it pays into it on Mondays and Fridays. I'm not using M1 Plus, but I know it has a lot of advantages. It's free right now for a year, so if you're interested in that, it's a good time to get started on that. I personally don't need it, but I know you use it a lot. Okay, so if we go into the funding history, this is very exciting for me because, like I said, I set it up in the middle of 2019, so this is like very modest. And then when we look at 2020, how much I was able to pay into this, this gets me really excited to just see how it explodes. And I hope 2021 will even be more than that. So fingers crossed. The way I have my transfers set up, like I said, I do it twice a week. This is how it looks like. I'm currently paying in $50 a week. So you can see here, right now I'm paying in $25 per transfer, so $50 a week. That changes based on how much money I have at my disposal each month. So it was a little bit higher in December and before that. Sometimes I have extra payments coming in that I then deposit via one-time deposit. I like to split things up. So I'm usually not investing more than $500 at a time because you never know how the market is doing, right? And obviously we want to buy at a discount as much as we can. And we had so many all-time highs in 2020, so that's why I like to divide it into little chunks, not really timing the market, but just make sure that I don't, invest like $1,000 at one point and then the next day, the market declines, then I would have gotten a better deal. So that's why I like to spread that out and divide it a little bit. Okay, so if we now go into the individual pies, Jake has that set up for me. So those are ETFs. To be honest, I'm still learning, so there's not a whole ton that I can say about those. I'm pretty sure all of you know more about those than I do, but just showing them. The dividend growth stocks, kind of the same story. Jake set that up for me. So I don't mess with those at all, but they look good. And then I have my personal favorites set up here. So these are all companies that I selected for myself or by myself for different reasons. Some of them I just really like the brands. For example, Sony. I love Sony. I talked about that last year, about the story. Why I'm such a Sony fangirl, you could say. Same with Target. It's just a silly reason, but I love their shopping carts so much. It's just so much fun cruising around the store. And I also like the products, obviously, and the mission and whatever. But yeah, those are some personal reasons why I selected some companies. Some of them I selected by just Googling like companies that do well by doing good things, like being just a good company. I think Salesforce was one of them, Honeywell, and I think even Microsoft. Just they contribute a lot, not just making money, but also giving back to like the community and pushing technology forward in a good and substantial way and all that. So that's why I selected some of those. Yeah, and then just some growth companies that I am convinced will do well for years to come. I think Google is a good example, at least theoretically. Amazon for sure. Salesforce, I'm proud I bought that before, way before they bought Slack, but it just shows me or gives me some confirmation. Yeah, that was a good choice. They're doing well. They will continue to do well. This is kind of how I have it set up. The most fun part, if we now go into the holdings, I can show real quick which one does best. Target is number one, then Sony. I like to see that for personal reasons. Then on the lower end, we have Coca-Cola not doing so. We were actually confused, like, is it really like, why is this 0? But it's actually, what do it say, like the average price? I zero net out on that right now. I don't know. It was just kind of funny to see.
Yeah, the average price that you have purchased is $48.70, and the price today is $48.70.
Yeah.
We thought it was a glitch in the beginning, but no, that's how it is.
It's hilarious. And then going to my favorite screen of them all is obviously the dividend screen, where we can see my dividends coming in. And whenever they come in, here's Sony right here. Obviously, I don't like to see that, but it's still Sony, so I'm going to keep it.
Do you know why it was 06? Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah, that's the tax because it's not an American company or something like that.
It's an international company, and because it's an international company, the tax is from the other country.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, but I'm still going to keep them because I love Sony. Yes, and like I think we mentioned that before, those dividends are not like world shaking at this point. So I always get excited still if I reach more than $1, which now happens more often than not. I remember when I first set it up, like in August last year, and the first dividends came on, I was excited when it went over 10 cents. And now we're looking at dividends over $1, almost over $2. This one got me jumping. I was like, what? $6? That's almost my Hulu account for 3 months. So I like to convert the dividends that come in into actual value. So like, okay, Costco just paid me $6. So for that money, how often do they pay? Like 3 months? That's, I think, like literally 3 months of my Hulu account or something like that. So I can immediately attach a value to the dividend, which makes me even more motivated because like I'm just thinking, okay, if I push that a little more, I'll just, be able to invest more or just be responsible on my spendings. I'm able to push that up a little more, and then next month or next quarter or in 6 months, it's gonna be my Hulu account for 6 months instead of 3. So that's that's the most exciting part about it. I have to say I only use the app, so I'm not really 100% familiar with like this view. I don't use this a lot, but you can bet that at least once per day. Yeah, pretty much once per day, I'm checking my M1 app and check the dividends and see if something came in. So yeah, that was the deep dive into my portfolio.
I really like what you said towards the end there about having the mindset of the dividends. You get the dividend and you're already automatically thinking, okay, what that could pay for in terms of your expenses. And then thinking, okay, if you put in a little bit more, what else could you cover, right? I love thinking about that, like, with your monthly expenses, whether it be with your phone bill, your utility bill, or whatever it may be. I think that's a really, really great way, especially when you're getting started, staying motivated and setting those goals and working towards that. I just think that's awesome. So
yeah, one thing that I wanted to say to that, which really changed like mindset wise for me, is like before I was getting invested in like the whole money topic. Money was like not my friend. Money was like an enemy to me. It's like a thing that I had to deal with. There was no way around it, but I was dreading it. I didn't like it. And now on this journey, I personally, like, thanks to you as well, I managed to turn money into my friend. And now when I look at money, it's like it gets me excited and I'm not dreading it any longer. So yeah, that's been very motivating.
I think it comes down to, like, when you're unsure of something, or, the uncertainty causes maybe anxiety or fear. But when you understand something, especially, the topic of like investing or finance, it's so simple. Like we fear the unknown. And when we educate ourselves on different topics, then we no longer fear it or have anxiety towards it. So really, really great point. So when we look at 2021, and we look at some of our goals, I like to think of it as, there's 3 buckets or 3 areas that I like to focus on in every aspect of our financial lives. And it really boils down to 3 things. And if you've been following my channel, I pretty much am repeating these 3 things over and over again because they are so essential. The 3 things that I always talk about are, cutting your expenses, staying out of consumer debt, and making more money so that you can invest more. And so when we look at our own lives here in 2021, we're going to definitely have more expenses, right? You're cooking something inside of your belly right now, which I think is going to cause a few expenses from, diapers to daycare to whatever it may be. I think being able to keep our expenses low in 2021 is going to be a much bigger challenge than it was in 2020. What are some ideas that you have kind of floating around when it comes to cutting expenses, especially when it relates to the baby?
Yeah, so I'm trying to adjust like kind of the minimalist mindset a little bit in terms of what do I really need, especially when it comes to the baby. Like, yeah, it's cute to put it in cute onesies and all that, and have like a newborn photo shoot. And obviously that's to everyone's like personal preferences and decisions. But if I just reflect on myself and how our lifestyles, like I don't need a cute onesie. Like one color does it, and it doesn't have to be like brand new, or it doesn't have to be like a brand name or something. So what we did is, like, thankfully we had a lot of kids in your family, so we get pretty much all the clothes up until like 3 years or something from your family for free. So that was a big thing, and everyone who thinks about that should see who do I have in my immediate circle that I could tap into. I also get clothes secondhand from a coworker who just recently had a baby. So we save a lot of money there. And then it's just thinking about think about things and how you use them. For example, when you look at newborn essentials, they're like mats that you put on the floor, where the baby can have like playtime or whatever. And there's so many mats that you could buy, but why not just use a blanket that you already have? That's a good example for that. I was like, yeah, I don't need to spend money on that. Or like diaper bags are so expensive, but you probably have like an old bag, like handbag or like a backpack laying around that you don't use on a regular basis that you could just transform in a diaper bag, and then you don't have to buy one.
So here's a question for you. Where do you draw the line though, right? Like, are you going to use reusable diapers?
I was thinking about that actually, because I think diapers, it's not only, I'm not only like into saving money, but also I'm a little bit into sustainability as much as it's comfortable.
With the environment?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's obviously less trash if you would have reusable diapers. But I think in this specific case, for me personally, our specific situation, I choose comfort.
Everyone's got that line. Okay. All right, so when cutting costs, when looking at the baby, there's looking at secondhand. I think it really comes down to is, do I really need this? Do I really need to have the newest of the new? Do I have to buy it brand new, or can I buy it secondhand?
Yeah, it's 2 questions. Do I really need this? And if the answer is yes, can I get it cheaper somewhere?
That's a good point. Where can I, instead of just taking it at face value, can I maybe get a deal somewhere else? Can I get it, on surfing around different websites, couponing? I don't know. There's always things that you could do. So cutting expenses in 2021 is going to be top of mind for us, especially around the baby. The second is staying out of consumer debt, right? I think we have been really, really good with this. We don't have everything that we own except for our mortgage on our house and our rental properties, we own flat out. We don't have car debt. We don't have credit card debt. And for us, that is top of mind, staying out of consumer debt. And we do that by, making sure that, we're performing well in our day jobs, right? While also having an emergency fund. If shit were to hit the fan, we would be okay. We wouldn't have to go into massive debt if there was a hardship. So for us personally, it just kind of comes naturally to stay out of debt. So that's something that we're going to, a goal of 2021 is to continue down that course and down that path. Then the third thing is making more money. Making more money is a little bit more complicated, right? Especially in 2020, with the pandemic, it was difficult to maybe do a few side hustles where you didn't want to have human interaction. You didn't want to do ride sharing or something like that. I'm just speaking broadly. For us personally, where we're focusing is definitely in growing our real estate portfolio. We currently have 2 rentals. We're looking to get a 3rd rental here next year. The Austin real estate market is just blown up, so that's going to be a challenge. It's not going to be as easy as it was a couple of years ago. So that's the first thing, is real estate. And then the second thing is continuing to provide value here on the YouTube channel, right? I don't push a lot of ads. I don't sell a course. I try to be authentic and genuine in what I'm doing here on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube does, pay the ad revenue. It is a small amount. It is nice. It's that cherry on the top to get a little bit of ad revenue from YouTube. And also in the affiliate links in the description of the videos, a lot of you have been clicking on the links, and because it is affiliate marketing, you oftentimes get $20 if you sign up to Personal Capital, for example. I also get $20, so it's a win-win. The whole thing for me with YouTube has always been around helping, inspiring, educating new investors while also providing value. That's always been what I've been about. For example, with the dividend reinvestment calculator, I spent half the day putting that together, and I just shared the link for free. Right? Like that kind of stuff. I'm just trying to think of ways that I can provide value to all of you and make it a win-win. So those are my 2 things that I'm really pushing here in 2021. What about you?
Yeah, so I work in SEO, so search engine optimization. I work for a company, but I'm also able to offer little audits and little SEO tasks for smaller companies on the side. So I've created a Fiverr account where I offer that. So I've just recently created that, so it's not going on much. But if I will have the time to focus on that, given what's going to be happening in a few months, I'm planning to push that a little bit. I know there's a lot of demand for SEO audits out there, and I think I can provide a lot of value with the experience that I've been looking back on to get a little money on the side doing that. And
you've also helped me a lot with the YouTube channel with, for example, the Dividend merch. All the designs were from you, right? You put together all the designs.
More to come soon.
So everything that's come in, it hasn't been a lot, but there's been a little. There's been a few of you that have bought merch, which we're really, really grateful for. And I said here with Kara that if she put that together and if there were sales on the Dividend merch, I would give her a cut. So that's kind of her little side hustle.
Yeah, that too.
Those are really the 3 areas that we're focusing on when it comes to side hustling. You got real estate, you got YouTube, and we got Kara's side hustle there. Our 2021 goals are really nothing, out of this world. It's just pretty straightforward. I see whenever we can cut our expenses, I see that as a pay raise, right? It's like the equivalent if we wouldn't have went out and we would have side hustled in another area. So cutting our expenses, staying out of consumer debt, and looking for new ways to make more money so that we can invest in our portfolio is really what it all comes down to. All right, so before we head out here for this video, I think there's a lot of people following the channel that maybe would be interested in hearing your perspective of something that they can do to help their partner get interested in investing with them, right? So when we first started investing, you'd never invested a cent. It was all foreign to you, very new. What are some recommendations that you can give someone to help get their partner interested and excited about investing?
That's a great question. I think you should be able to explain in very simple terms and with a lot of patience to your partner what this is all about. Ask them, like, take their fears seriously and try to overcome their fears. And then also show them, and I mentioned that earlier, just show them like, hey, we got X amount of dividends this month. Further down the road, explain them how that exponentially grows, and just transfer that in something tangible, like I do with my monthly dividends, and then what they could pay for. That just makes it more tangible and more exciting, because that's really the part that got me excited about it. So I think the first one is just take the fear out of it, turn money into your friend. And then the second one is like make it tangible, like make it understandable for them. And so they can actually, speak to it too. And so it's more discussion later on than just, a lecture. And I think that gets me excited as well. So the more I learned, the more I was able to like, oh, wait, but isn't that like this? And shouldn't we do this? And then it turned into a discussion. It's like, oh, yeah, that's a good idea. And feeling more equal about the whole topic with more education.
I really like that when you said turn it into a discussion instead of a lecture, right? If you're trying to help somebody and say, hey, we should do this, and look at all the reasons why we should do it, then you're lecturing them versus them contributing and buying into it and being part of it. I really like that. I think that's really great. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching the video. Thank you, Kara, for joining today.
It was very much fun.
Pretty improv. Thank you, everybody, for watching the video. If you're new to the channel, I'd invite you to subscribe. If you like today's video, give us a thumbs up.
And catch you all in the next video.
You know what? I think we're gonna be friends. Can everyone say hi to my friend? That's crazy. I just wanted to say thanks. I'm glad you came along, partner.